can tune in, of course, on the radio, as many of you are doing, or you can watch us on YouTube as well. Royal Banks of Missouri text line is open 84126. We want to have you as part of the conversation. Good show lined up for you today. Dr. Rick is here. Good time to get in your medical questions now. There's a little lag between when you text us and when we get it. So if you got a question for him, you might as well get it in now. We'll try to get to as many of those as we can. Joe Holloman back after a couple weeks of vacation. He just wrote a cover story on the front of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch about the question that has been raised so often. Is Josh Hawley going to actually throw his hat in the ring to run for president of the United States? And then a little bit later in the show, we have Amy Powell. She has written a book. She's an international business consultant and coach, now based in St. Louis, with some really interesting things to say about women moving into power and leadership in the corporate industry. Alvin Reed, I wanted to know what my friends at ChatGPT had to say about you this morning.
All right, before you say it was like 2 years ago, and with my daughters were there, and I said, the AI, and he said, well, Dad, have you AI'd yourself? I said no, and she did it, and I read it, and my first reaction was, actually, that's pretty good.
Okay,
right?
I was going to ask if it filled into spot because everybody that was the big thing years ago, right? 15 years ago, it was, are you Googling yourself?
Yeah.
So I wanted to know because I've heard from a couple of people, AI filled in some gaps that were a little bit not factual. So I'm going to read it to you and see what you say.
All right.
Alvin A. Reed is a prominent journalist and editor of the St. Louis American, where he has served in leadership roles for over a decade. As of January 2026, he remains a key figure at the publication, transitioning to a role focused on digital content and sports coverage while continuing to contribute as a columnist. So far, so good?
So far, so good, yeah.
Okay.
It's up to date, too, yeah.
He previously served as a news editor and city editor in July of 2025. He would shift his focus to the starting lineup of digital and sports storytelling for the paper.
Yeah, that was right exactly when it happened.
Reed is a long-standing panelist on Donnybrook, a popular weekly public affairs program on 9 PBS. That's correct.
That's
right?
correct.
He's a veteran sports commentator, been recognized as the best sports columnist weeklies by the Missouri Press Association, and contributes regularly to sports-related discussions on local radio. It did not list KTRS, but I'm putting KTRS as
Put that
number
in
one.
there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. His work has appeared in various regional and national outlets, including St. Louis Magazine and the New York Times.
That is correct.
Okay. Native of Kirkwood, Missouri, he's known for his deep ties to the St. Louis community, and he was the first African-American staff panelist on Donnybrook.
That's correct.
And then it lists the Virginia Betts White Quest Award from the Missouri Professional Communicators for his distinguished career in journalism.
And I'd completely forgotten the name of the award, but
Write that down.
I will.
Okay, so that's good to know. It hasn't made up stuff.
No, it did not make up anything.
Okay.
And it didn't go back, like you said, to the daily newspaper days, but that's pretty much out there too. But yeah, that was, like I said, that first 2 years ago. I thought that was pretty good. I'll take that.
Yeah, but it's updated to today.
to date. Now, that was kind of cool.
Yeah. Everybody listening already knew who you were, so this was redundant for them. But just in case there's one listener out there who didn't.
I'll tell you what. If I had to explain where the career went between July and January of 26, where we're at now, I would read that because I never had really put it into any kind of verbiage.
Yeah.
So they did it for me.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
It for me.
If you have a speaking engagement or somebody wants you to come in and be a panelist, or most likely in your case moderate a panel, and they say, "Can I have your bio?" I think you can just AI yourself.
Yeah, and you're right.
You can just cut and paste that.
Pretty much, right.
That's
I
good.
never really thought about that, but you're right.
It's good. For those of you keeping track, today is, again, January the 6th. For those who celebrate Christmas, that is known as the Feast of the Epiphany, or Three Kings Day.
Is your tree still up?
No, I take, when I was a kid, with Dad, Pastor Keith, my dad, we kept all the Christmas stuff up. We started on the first day of Advent, and it came down on January 6th, usually not before. But now I kind of like to do it right around New Year's, maybe even a day or two early.
Okay, I do, because, and I'd get a, you call it a live tree, but the tree obviously is dead. But anyway, we do a real tree. And I do take it past Epiphany. And case in point, Monday is our recycling and trash day. And Kirkwood picks up. You just put your tree out there. They'll take
nice.
it. I did not have it out there Monday because I did want to go through today.
Right.
And also this marks the a little bit more than 4 weeks that the tree was up. And so I like to do that as well. So it'll come down this week and be out, on next Monday. But I do take it past the 6th every year.
Oh, that's cool. The city in different area firefighters, I've noticed there's been press releases and people reminding us that now is about the time. Your timing is right. This is about as long as those real trees can last, even when they're watered.
And I do keep it, I put fresh water in it every day. I've, not that it ever had a problem, but I do that as you get older. You say like, I don't want to burn my house down.
Yeah,
right?
I looked up the definition of epiphany because I was like, it's one of those words we sort of know what it means, and I liked it. The manifestation of a supernatural or divine reality or any moment of great or sudden revelation. So may you all have an epiphany of some form
and then it became,
today.
All right, then it's like, when did the wise men show up at the manger? And it could have been up to 2 years later.
Yeah,
we don't
the
know.
timing is definitely not 12 days.
But apparently, like that was their epiphany.
Yeah.
Okay, they got there and they realized that no, this is a real thing. But we don't know technically when they got there.
Yeah,
we also don't know how many of them are the three. This is like somebody just made that up in a song,
right?
So
I was going to say the songs. We needed 12 days because 12 days of Christmas,
right.
and we needed the three wise men. Hey, we have a lot coming up in the show, including our opening dialogue that we will have right after these messages.
Way back in time, if you had a leak in the roof of your hut, I imagine you had to find a tree close by, scale it, and then jump and hope you could get up there and see what was wrong. Then came the advent of the ladder. There was an easier way to get up there and see if something was wrong. And with modern technology, we finally get around to the drone. Now, the folks at Allen Roofing use those instead of trees and ladders. Send a drone up, find out if there's anything wrong with your roof, get some pictures, go over it with you, and see if there's a problem, how bad it is, what they could do, what it'll cost. Or if everything's just fine, they will tell you that too. Boy, it's so nice we don't have to climb trees to look at our hut. Allen Roofing embracing technology and doing quality roof repair, siding, gutters, everything for the outside of your home. Just ask Gronk. He was one of the first customers. It's Allen Roofing. Find him online at aroofing.net.
Al Arbor, Barrett Jackman, and Alexander Steen celebrate the newest inductees into the St. Louis Blues Hall of Fame, presented by First Community during a pregame ceremony on January 13th when the Blues take on the Hurricanes. Be sure to get here early to honor the legends and be one of the first 10,000 fans through the gate to receive a Blues Hall of Fame Class of 2026 banner courtesy of First Community. Get your tickets today at stlouisblues.com.
Hey, Heidi Glaus here, inviting you to join me October 24th as we journey in search of Iceland's magical Northern Lights with Colette. We're going to experience the land of fire and ice with a rare opportunity to search for the Northern Lights, one of nature's most dazzling light displays. We'll see steaming lava fields, massive glacier-sculpted mountains and valleys, not to mention thundering waterfalls. We'll travel the Golden Circle and walk on a black volcanic sand beach, plus relax in the warm, mineral-rich water of the Blue Lagoon. This and so much more. Colette handles the details from flights, meals, hotels, and local experiences. Your only job is to have the time of your life. Don't miss out. Join me and call our friends at Altair Travel, 314-968-9600, or go to KTRS.com to learn more. That number again, 314-968-9600.
The holidays are over, time to relax and get back to the daily routine. January is a great time to enjoy the casual, comfortable atmosphere at Gingham's Restaurant in St. Charles. Gingham's was voted the #1 breakfast by the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, but we offer so much more. Great daily specials throughout the week, some of the best pies you've ever tasted, and our soups can't be beat. Anything you want, anytime you want, 24 hours a day, and some of the best service anywhere. Visit us at ginghamsrestaurant.com. Stay warm.
Hey, it's Heidi, and I've only sold 2 houses, but I know how stressful it can be. I also know the team at Lauren Risley Realty makes the entire process as easy as possible. I watched Lauren work with friends and my parents, and I can say she is top notch. She doesn't just know the market, she knows what to look for in a home, and that includes red flags. And through all of it, she is calm, cool, and kind. So if you're in the market to buy or sell a home, or if you just have a question, call Lauren Risley Realty, 314-775-0684, or go to laurenrisleyrealty.com.
And now the opening dialogue with Frank and Jill on the Big 550 KTRS. Powered by Worldwide Technology Raceway.
Welcome back, everybody. Frank and Jill show on a Tuesday morning. Jill Farmer, Alvin Reed sitting in for Frank, who's out on assignment, and Connor McCarthy here as well. Please join the conversation on the Royal Banks of Missouri text line 84126. Well, the business of AI, we talked about AI giving a good report on our friend Alvin Reed a little bit earlier this morning. It seems to know what he's up to. But the business of AI, which of course is all about data centers, it's having these very big, they take a lot of physical space, they take a lot of energy, they take a lot of water, the data centers to run these more highly sophisticated computer systems. And of course, we heard a lot about the fight last year in St. Charles and in the city of St. Louis. But now a lot of these companies are just sort of a little more quietly moving further out. And I'm talking about all kinds of areas in Jefferson County, St. Louis Magazine reporting this morning, Montgomery County, Warren, Western St. Charles County. And it's even in those areas with fewer people and less population, there is pushback that is beginning. The city leaders, the county leaders in these areas seem a little bit smitten with some of the tax prospects, the job prospects, and some in the communities are like, no, we like our rural way of life. We like not having the noise pollution, the potential of traffic and all those kinds of things. So the conversation is spreading out a little bit into, but very, very significantly close to the St. Louis region, I think, Alvin. And then the other thing that we are reading about today in the St. Louis Business Journal is reporting as it relates to this, that Illinois is kind of kicking Missouri's behind when it comes to just AI venture capital. Not talking specifically about data centers, but we have $635 million in AI venture capital, which is great. It sounds really good until you look at the Illinois number, which is in the multi-billion, as in $10.7 billion. So there's a pretty big gap between those two. What are your thoughts?
Huge gap. And, down this way, maybe not Metro East, but down in southern Illinois, hate Chicago, don't want anything to do with Chicago. If Chicago went away, the southern part of Illinois would just not exist. So I think that's where that investment is coming from. I mean, it is just a commerce and market center, second only probably to New York.
Right.
And that's where that's coming from. Now, how do you compete with that if you're Missouri? I think you do the best you can. I'm not surprised that the data centers are finding places to be other than in the straight out metropolitan areas. One, because of the pushback from the population around it. I always thought that there were better fits where there was open land and all that. But I learned this, just over the years. The reason that wasn't the first choice is because the people that run them and have to be there don't want to live. Mm-hmm. And that's not an insult to Florestel or Festus down the way or those that are looking into it. It's just that they don't necessarily want to live there. They would like to live closer to a metropolitan area. Well, it's not happening, so you got to put it somewhere. And if I'm an investor, I don't care where it's at. I don't work there. I'm just investing in it. I just want it up and operating. I wouldn't care where it was at as long as the community, at least kind of welcomed us. Mm-hmm. And I think the open spaces that you get in rural Missouri lends itself to, we're really not on top of anything. Now, as far as electric usage, water usage, I don't know how you do that in a smaller place. Mm-hmm. Do you charge more? I mean, because it'd be one thing to be here and it figured out that we all had to pay 3 cents more a watt hour for, our electricity. But then your municipality was getting stuff back in, tax. But out there, it might actually, because you have fewer people, mm-hmm. it might actually make your electricity bill really go go up significantly, and I would be concerned about that.
You bring up really, really good points, and I think it's a big problem, right? Rural community states that have even populations that are dwindling more quickly than we are in Missouri for a long time have been trying to make themselves really attractive to business and saying lots of land, lots of educated populace. The problem is getting the actual workforce to be willing to move out of other parts of the country or metropolitan area to back to here. Although there is some of that migration happening, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. You have an interesting first thought today about kind of reentry.
Okay. Yesterday, because I was waiting, I said, like, okay, when the holiday's over, I'm going to take one of our cars and get the rear brakes done. Got a place right there in Kirkwood, close enough that I walk. So I took the car and I walked home. It was like I was in shock. There were people everywhere, and there were cars everywhere, and the school buses were running. And I'm like, what's going on here? What is happening? This morning when I pulled into the parking garage, there were cars there. Because, over the holidays I've been in, I'm like, oh, I'm parking like right near the door of the entrance on the second flight there. And there were just cars everywhere. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess we're back to reality.
Right, my favorite line from Caddyshack. Don't you people have homes?
And it's funny how, after Thanksgiving, people return to work, but you could tell there's already this maybe 10 to 20% not going to the office, already on vacation. It really starts winding down right before Thanksgiving. And then you go through the entire holiday period, and you just don't see as many people driving and all that, except maybe if you're at the mall Christmas time. But it just, all of a sudden, it was back. And it caught me off guard. It's like, wow.
Right.
What is this buzz of activity? So, like, hey, it's Monday, January the 5th. It's over. It's back to work.
One of my favorite memes I saw yesterday was like, "Sorry, folks, we have now re-entered into let's circle back around season." Right when during the holidays, you're like, "Let's circle back around after the holidays and talk about it." Well, it's here, Connor. I was going to ask you yesterday, and I'm glad Alvin brought it up today. Did you? I noticed a pretty big difference in my commute yesterday morning as well. Did you?
I don't know, actually. I mean, I was actually astonished how little people were out on the roads yesterday. And today was kind of normal. I haven't had any of those big traffic days yet. Which
you must
can
be coming
happen.
at a better time than me.
I must just be hitting a better time.
Yeah, because I think I was out, to your point, Alvin, it's the school bus. I was out driving in both days a little before 8 a.m. And man, when you're on this road the same time as the school buses trying to get to and from, I think you really notice it.
This was between 7:30 and 8 yesterday morning, and walked past one of the middle schools in Kirkwood. And so there was, kids were returning. And because I was walking, I had to stop, at a stoplight right there by Knifer Middle School. And a young lady, her dad had just dropped her off. And, we were across the street, and the crossing guard was out there and everything. But I asked her, I said, "You ready to go back to school?" She said, "No." And I told her, I said, yeah, the world is like that. Because I'm saying, oh, man, we got to get back to, real responsibility again.
Yeah, there is that sense of almost, it goes back to our childhood where it's like, ready or not, here we are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, very good. Speaking of, we were just talking about, sort of staffing and trying to make places more attractive. Wall Street Journal reported last week. I like these stories because I'm very much pro-Midwest, Midwest-centric, like it or not. It's just where my roots are, where I've thrived most of my life. And the Wall Street Journal said when they're tracking where people are moving to, more Americans than in a very long time are migrating back to the Midwest. Number one reason they're naming affordability and climate stability, quality of life. So it didn't talk a lot in the article about St. Louis, but St. Louis is exactly the kind of metro in the article they're describing. Far more affordable housing compared to the coasts, strong health care, higher ed institutions, climates that, of course, we can be extreme at times. Hello, May tornado.
Yeah.
But not wildfire or hurricane prone, which is impacting insurance rates.
Yes.
It's some of the more attractive parts of our country to live weather-wise when it's nice. The things like hurricanes and wildfires are making... We're on the edge of, I think, a huge insurance crisis. And so it was interesting, right? During COVID, when people were mobile, they were like, why am I living in a place where the air makes my skin hurt during the winter? I want to get down to someplace warm. So we saw that migration. Local real estate agents calling it a boomerang effect, especially among families who had remote work, moved someplace, more climate friendly or whatever. Schools are another reason. People saying they're moving to other parts of the country. We don't know how good we have it until you go somewhere else and compare what's there. So I'm very curious. Do you guys know somebody who left St. Louis and then came back? Royal Banks of Missouri text line 84126.
Well, I am one, okay, because I, like I say, everybody knows I'm a Jayhawk, so I went to the University of Kansas, but then my first newspaper right after school was in Danville, Illinois. So I went from Danville, Illinois to Lansing, Michigan to Little Rock, Arkansas, and then I went to USA Today Baseball Weekly on the East Coast. So haven't lived west, but I've lived, all over the country. It's different. When we lived on the East Coast, I said I learned two lessons. One, the tax code doesn't know where you live, okay? All it knows is how much money you make. And they're like, wait a minute. Okay, yeah, you get paid more out here, but your taxes are unreasonably high. We lived in Northern Virginia, okay? So it was even worse than some areas, but like I said, that your bracket of income, it doesn't care if you make that much money in St. Louis, in Florestal, anywhere. It's just like this is how much you have to pay in tax. So you learn that lesson. Two, and I have friends because they went to different papers, and they over the years they told me this. People go for that. There's no tax in Florida. There's no tax in Texas. They go for that, and then they find out that the real estate tax is just huge. That they make it up somehow. So I think as with the insurance and then what you have to pay for your property and then the taxes on the property, people have less money. And I think as you get older, and I'm now 65, you realize that I really don't want to have less money. It's not like, I'm broke or we don't know where our next meal is coming from. But at the same time, the overhead is such that this is not a good deal for us at this time. And I think that brings people back as well.
Yeah, I'm interested. I have a daughter who's 26, lives in Austin, great city, loving it, but talking about buying a house there, crazy. And even though she's always said, "Oh, I really like the warmer temperatures, and I love the lifestyle here," I'll be interested when it comes time to actually buy that first home.
Yes.
Whether there's some consideration to come back to the Midwest.
And that's what basically I had an opportunity. I had worked at a magazine after I worked at USA Today Baseball Weekly in Washington, D.C. area. The plan technically was not to move back and stay, but my grandparents' property was here, and we were going to fix this house up and, probably get back with Gannett or whatever. We had our first daughter when we were 38 years old, and then we had our second daughter when we were 40. Okay. And so thus we weren't moving anywhere. We lived in Kirkwood. That was not part of the plan, even though I'm from Kirkwood. My mom lives there to this day. But that necessarily wasn't part of the plan. But that was when I learned that, you know what, if you've got something here that you've already kind of invested in, that's wise to just keep it and hold on to it and build it up rather than going and buying something new or something kind of new and creating a whole new kind of level of debt. And so that worked out for us great. My daughter, Blaine, the youngest, just graduated with her master's degree in electrical engineering from the University of Missouri. She's sought after. People want her. She's got a nuclear phase to this whole electrical engineering thing. And she thought about San Antonio. She's got some people down that way and whatnot. She's moving back to St. Louis. And I think she kind of wised up to the fact that, you know what, I am going to be doing well, and I could buy something, or I could live how I wanted to back here in St. Louis, as opposed to living, how economics dictates someplace else.
All good points, and lucky dad. I still am not giving up. One daughter is up in Des Moines, so she's not terribly far away. But I'd love to have him just a little bit closer.
And I think Blaine. This is so funny. Not to give it, but I thought my oldest daughter Bryson, who is getting her PhD at Lindenwood now, went to school up in Chicago. I thought she would go to a bigger school than she did. She went to Dominican University in Chicago. I thought she would go to a bigger school. I thought my youngest daughter would go to a smaller school. I thought my oldest daughter would probably stay in Chicago. And she moved back.
I know.
And then Blaine went to the big school, and I didn't know, but Blaine says she's going to move back for now. Now, I don't know if Blaine will stay.
I know.
Here.
It's there. You guys, you provide us always with lots of fun, exciting plot twist, kids. Before we get to break and have Dr. Rick back, thanks for sending in your questions, by the way, on the Royal Banks of Missouri text line. This caught my eye right before we came in today, Alvin. Schnucks is going to, just out yesterday from the Business Journal, Schnucks is no longer going to be sending mailed grocery ads to us.
Dearborg stopped a while back because I would basically not play one against the other, but I would like to see what the sale was like at a Deerberg's, and they stopped a few months ago. So I'm not surprised that Schnucks is following up on that as well. I'm not one of those that can, the thing is right on your phone. Just look it up. Right. I understand that, but I don't want to do that. I just want to look at the flyer as soon as it comes in the mail, and then I recycle it.
Yeah. Back when I was, cooking all the meals for the family most of the time and the kids were home, I was looking at the ads and kind of planning meals around what was on super sale and what meat were there. And I have to say, I've kind of gotten away from it. Convenience, being later in life, cooking for just two. I don't think in those terms in the same way. So I'm sad it's not there anymore. But if I'm honest, it's not guiding my buying decisions in any way, shape, or form.
That's true.
And I'm curious, on the Royal Banks of Missouri text line before we take a break, are you guys sad about this? Is it a big nothing burger to you? Do you make your decisions based on getting some of those flyers in the mail, which groceries you buy or which you don't buy? We want to hear from you on the Royal Banks of Missouri text line. Dr. Rick's going to be up next, but first, our friends at McKnight Place Assisted Living and Memory Care are doing so much to always stay on top of the latest information, and that includes, of course, all of those that are in the same group. That's the Gatesworth Properties, McKnight Place, and Park Provence. Park Provence, known specifically for being in the cutting edge, not just in St. Louis, but nationally. People come here from all over the country because of where they are when it comes to memory, community, and being on top of the latest and greatest medical interventions, support, ways to slow down the progression in many cases of dementia or help people thrive who are experiencing dementia, whatever pace it is moving in. And that, of course, has a lot to do with David B. Carr, professor of Washington University School of Medicine, director of clinical services for the university's Division of Geriatrics and Gerontology. Say that 5 times fast. Nationally recognized expert in the field of memory care. It's just, his life's mission to make sure that people who are who have dementia, who are experiencing that, and their family, their loved ones, their spouses, their partners, their nieces, nephews, kids, everybody knows that everything is being done to make this a time of life, not where somebody has to be sad about this experience, but where it can be made the best it can possibly be. Reach out today if you want more information specifically on memory care. 314-542-2500. That's the number to Park Provence, or go to parkprovence.com.
At Maryville University, we power dreams, not just degrees. For nearly 150 years, we've empowered graduates to build successful careers. At Maryville, expect a rigorous, technology-driven, mentor-inspired education in a diverse and inclusive learning environment. We help you take it to the next level, no matter what field you choose. Now is the time to turn your ambition into action and transform your dream into reality. Start your journey at maryville.edu.
Are you retired? Are you thinking about retiring? Who is helping you with retirement? Might be time to check out the show When Retirement Happens, hosted by Kevin Lloyd of Legacy Wealth Advisors. Saturday at 1, Sunday at noon on the Big 550 KTRS.
Do you have the option to control your cash flow and wealth? Are you getting a return on your greatest asset, your lifetime and potential generational income? Overcome these critical financial planning challenges by discovering the Control Option Mindset featuring the Lifetime and Generational Income Maximizer. Call Mark Benson and his team at the Control Option at 314-432-9540 or online at thecontroloptionmindset.com.
Hey, it's Heidi, and if the new year means a new look for your home, look no further than Dalco Home Remodeling. Let me just tell you, customers could not be happier. If you're looking for new windows, Dalco Home Remodeling has you covered. If you're looking for a new door, they can custom make you a front door. They can do French doors, they can do sliding doors, and they can stain it or paint it to whatever you have going on or whatever new color you want to add. Let me just tell you about some of the happy clients. You've got Alex, who said, I had Dalco replace several windows and doors on one of my properties, did a top quality job for me, would definitely recommend. And he's just one of many. You know, Dalco Home Remodeling has been around for more than 50 years. They are family owned and family operated. So if you're ready to get your dream project underway, go to DalcoHomeRemodeling.com. You can also give them a call at 314-298-7300.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call me, Lance Drury, today and let me get between you and the IRS. I'll protect your rights. At the Lance Drury Law Firm, our practice is focused 100% on fighting the IRS. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Drury Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis. Call 314-260-6120. Visit Lance, D-R-U-R-Y, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Welcome back to Frank and Jill's show. Jill Farmer, Frank Cusimano out on assignment today. Alvin Reed sitting in. Very glad to have him today. Connor McCarthy here as well. And it's Tuesday morning, which means Dr. Rick Lehman joins us to answer your medical questions on the Royal Banks of Missouri text line 84126 and to talk to us about some of the news that is making, some of the medical news that we are is making headlines today. And that includes, Dr. Rick, new research that says an old herb that many of us have heard about, sage, may offer some relief for menopause symptoms. Asking for a friend. No, not really. Asking for me. Tell me more about this.
Well, first of all, I think, you're talking about a pretty common problem, right? Postmenopausal changes, and I think that's ubiquitous. And some people have it bad, some people have it not so bad. And I think there are medications out there that are not benign, but certainly herbal answers, and sage being probably the big one, and there is significant research showing that does mute a lot of the menopausal hot flashes, etc., is a very easy thing to do. So I would say everybody out there, prior to getting back on estrogen or taking medications to mute some of your postmenopausal changes, let's go to something a little bit more simple. Let's give the sage a month, 2 months, and let's see what happens. And it is shocking how many people really get benefits. So, again, you can call us. We'll refer you to exactly how you do it, but it's very, very simple. And I think it's a reasonable way to go and a very safe way to go.
I actually learned that. I worked at a nutrition and health store for a few years in there. And I learned about you kind of knew these things about sage and some of these other supplements, natural ones, but it was explained to me that was of benefit in dealing with menopause. And, this was like 5 or 6 years ago. So it's interesting that it's that information is out there, but you just kind of have to be in the right place at the right time
I'll
to
try
find
sage,
out.
but I'm probably not giving up my patch because it's working really well,
okay,
too,
there
for
you
sure.
go. There you go.
Another headline that caught my eye this week as well that we talked about is a decades-old drug, National Geographic reporting, is helping people drink less alcohol, but not necessarily give it up completely. You're very familiar with this drug, and what about this use for this drug?
Well, I think naloxone. So we've used naloxone over the years for two things: for alcoholism, severe alcoholism, and then an opioid addiction. So naloxone's a drug that is, near and dear to our hearts, and it's been used over a long period of time. Lots of research, very safe. But if you're trying to decrease your drinking, meaning, you don't want to completely give it up, but you do want to mute the answer to, your over drinking, there are two things you can do. One is a GLP, semaglutide, tirzepatide. Those drugs definitely mute the need or the response or kind of the hunger for alcohol. And the second is naloxone, and both of those work very well. So again, not to get you to quit, but instead of having 6 beers, have 1 beer, or 5 drinks, have 1 drink. I think the naloxone is a very easy, very safe way to go. And, talk to your primary care or your doctor and say, hey, I'm probably hitting it a little bit harder than I want to. I don't really want to quit completely. I like to socially drink. And I think those both are very good answers. The GLPs are a little bit more expensive. Naloxone, been out there a long time, not very expensive.
So if I'm on one of those medications and I take a drink, what happens? Does it, I don't, not to be gross, but does it physically make me ill to where I just give it back to society? Or exactly what does it do?
That's a great question, Alan. So really what it does is it decreases your want or your hunger. Now, if you go take naloxone and you do, fentanyl, yes, you're going to get sick. If you drink a little bit, you're not going to get sick. If you drink a lot, you may get a little bit sick to your stomach, but having one drink is not going to affect you. But probably what's going to happen is after you have your one drink, you're going to be like, I don't really want to have anything more to drink. So it's really going to affect more your what we call debt, your hunger for alcohol more than, oh my gosh, I'm going to puke.
The cravings, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned fentanyl. Apparently there may be a vaccine for this. Now, to me, that doesn't sound like a very good idea, but you're more an expert than I am, obviously. Is that a real thing that's coming, and would you stand behind that?
Well, first of all, this is a miracle, right? I mean, this is a vaccine that is going to stop the fentanyl from going to your brain, which is what kills you. That's what stops you from breathing. So in a way, what's the real, you're hitting on a very important point. What's the real answer? The real answer is you shouldn't be doing fentanyl.
Right.
We can all agree to that. But there are people out there that are buying drugs. They don't know that there's fentanyl in it. And like the Narcan, it's the same thing. Nobody wants to have a drug overdose, but if you're going to have one, taking a Narcan is better than dying. So at the end of the day, I would say if you're in that realm, and you're buying drugs and you're going to venture out, taking the vaccine makes 100% sense because you're not going to die of a fentanyl overdose. Now, again, the best answer is, hey, stay away from drugs. I mean, I think we can all agree to that, but I think that this is going to be a safe way for people not to have, what do we have, 350,000 deaths a year from fentanyl overdose? I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, people could just stop from doing it. They would, but that doesn't seem to be an option because it's just so darn addictive. I thought this was super interesting, an article that you shared with us, a silent killer as it relates to heart health that most people have never heard of because 85%, that's a really high number, of the people who have it are undiagnosed. Tell us more.
Well, so this is hypertrophic cardiomyopathy made famous by a guy named Hank Gathers. Hank Gathers was a basketball player at Loyola Marymount, and he was 19 years old and he dropped dead of a heart attack. And so what happens is your heart gets very, very big and dysfunctional, and you get this cardiomyopathy, meaning the muscle doesn't work. So your heart's really just a muscle, and you could imagine if it didn't contract and blood couldn't get pumped out, you would die. And so hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, not uncommon. It's something we see in athletes not infrequently because we do pre-screening for pro athletes a lot of times. And the people that get it don't know they have it because they're not really sick until they are really sick and then they die. So again, if you have a history of anyone in your family having heart issues before the age of 40, if at times you're short of breath walking upstairs and you're 35, 40 years old, this isn't an old person's disease. This is a young person's disease because you don't get to be old. So at the least, if you're having shortness of breath, you're having any kind of chest pain, you have a family history, etc., you need to have an ultrasound of your heart and make sure you don't have this problem. And it is not uncommon. This is a silent killer, and this is, again, a young person's disease.
Okay, Dr. Rick, I want to get to some of our texters' questions for you today. First of all, a couple people, including some friends, texting in. What's the name of the drug one more time for alcohol tolerance, just so people have that information?
It's naloxone, Naloxone. Google it. And if you have problems, call us, and we're more than happy to direct you to an internist or somebody, a drug abuse person that will order it for you, but naloxone.
Okay, from the 314, 79-year-old female, knee pain in September, MRI, diagnosed torn meniscus. Ortho initially said scoping was an option after cortisone injection. Second shot last week, not working. Doc says replacement instead of scoping. Given my age, should I continue with shots or have surgery?
Well, the easiest thing to do is replace your knee. The next thing that I would say, you shouldn't have another cortisone injection. And if you really are not wanting to have your knee replaced, you should try talk to your doctor about an exosome PRP combination. We've had great luck in that age range with exosomes. Exosomes are extracellular matrix, and they're the reason that stem cells work, and they've been magic so far. But again, the safest thing to do is go get your knee replaced. And if you're really against that, I would try one exosome injection. Now, if that doesn't work, go get your knee replaced.
Dr. Rick, I know you follow sports, okay? And this Jayhawk here has a question for you. We've got a 5-star basketball player named Darren Peterson. He could be the number 1 draft pick in the NBA draft come spring. But he can't stay on the court because he keeps getting like cramps in his thighs. And no one can figure out what to do. Are you familiar with this? And if Bill Self called you and said, what should I do? Would you have an answer for him?
So I know the case actually too well. And the answer probably is something called quinine sulfate. But, he needs a complete workup, which I have to believe they've done in terms of looking at potassium, replacements, supplements, etc. What we've been doing for these is we've been injecting the muscle and then putting them on quinine sulfate. Everybody wants to give you a supplement and do it orally, but you're probably going to have to do something directly into the quad and into the adductor to try to shut that down. And so I think what's going to end up happening is he'll end up seeing some super specialists. They will go ahead and inject him into the muscle. And then what they will do is they will probably put him on some quinine to see if that combination doesn't work. And we've had good luck with that. Now, we mostly see it in high jumpers and long jumpers more than basketball players, but we have seen it in some basketball players, and it's kind of rare, but not unheard of.
Last 30 seconds here, Dr. Rick. Weight loss pill. It's come out faster than originally the FDA said it would, that we're going to be able to take one of these GLPs in a pill form instead of injectable. You think it's going to be just as good?
No.
Okay.
So the Wegovy pill, short answer. The Wegovy pill I don't think is going to be as effective. I think it's going to be effective, and I think it's going to be most effective after you've lost X amount of pounds taking the shots, and then you're going to need some maintenance. But no, I don't think it's going to be as effective. Now, the research tells you it is as effective, but there's a drug out there that's a GLP prior to all this GLPs for weight loss, and it didn't work as well. So there is precedent for it not working as well. But you know what? It's worth giving it a go. A lot of people obviously don't want to get injected, and if it doesn't work, you can always go back to the injectable. But if you ask my opinion, I don't think it's going to be as effective.
Dr. Rick Lehman, as always, we really appreciate your time. Thanks for giving us some extra time today as well. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you next week.
You guys take care. Thank you.
Okay, lots of you weighing in on whether or not you're going to miss those Schnucks ads that are not coming out. We'll get to that right after the break. Don't go away.
Everyone's talking about these weight loss drugs, and it's a good thing we've got Dr. Joe Molesky with us, a St. Louis native and board-certified primary care physician. Dr. Joe, it can get very confusing, but the one thing we need to know is GLP-1, right? That's the magic cure.
The magic cure is these weight loss shots. They're injected once weekly. They're not like the old medications that you've seen 20, 30 years ago. These medications actually work. They're injected once weekly, and patients see within the first 90 days 10 to 15 pounds down. It simply works, and that's why I recommend it to all of my patients. You simply go online, book an appointment, you fill out a health questionnaire form, you get an appointment on our schedule. It's all telemedicine based. It's all done from your home, and then you meet with me or one of my nurse practitioners, and then after the 10, 15-minute consult, the medication is delivered right to your door discreetly, and you get started right now on your weight loss journey.
And you want to start to lose weight? None better than to call STLMedWeightLoss.com and ask Dr. Joe. STLMedWeightLoss.com.
Mizzou basketball on the Big 550 KTRS is powered by Graybar. Graybar.
On the run, Mitchell for the flush, Missouri by 20.
This Wednesday, your Tigers head to Kentucky to tip off against the Wildcats at 6 p.m. Pre-game begins at 5:30 p.m.
Drives right baseline to the rim, jams it as he hangs.
Catch all the action right here on the Big 550 KTRS.
Presented by Graybar for all your electrical and datacom solutions. Diana from Newstetter's Fine Jewelers here to remind you, we don't just offer the best pieces, we offer one of the last master hand engravers in our country. My father can create timeless, personal, and unforgettable pieces. Come by our showroom at the corner of Big Ben and Doherty Ferry or learn more online at wowdiamonds.com.
Progressive knows there are some surprisingly expensive things in life, like rugs. People say a rug would really bring the room together. And sure, you don't know what that means, but it sounds important. Suddenly you're using words like jute and sisal. Then you see the price and lose it, because how can the thing you walk and spill on cost so much? So you devote your life to taking down Big Rug. But then you remember that switching your home and auto to Progressive could save you hundreds. So, looks like Big Rug is safe. For now. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Kohl's new clearance markdowns are intense. Up to 70% off is the kind of deal that'll leave you feeling stunned and make you whisper things like, "Where have you been my whole life?" to a cardigan. Just take a deep breath, steady your cart, and try to act normal. But it's not possible. The savings are just too good. Shop new clearance markdowns now, in-store and online at Kohl's. Select styles, some exclusions apply. See store or kohls.com for details.
Meet me at the Village Bar. Ready for the world's best cheeseburger? Homemade onion rings, trashed wings? It's the Village Bar for food and sports. Cards, blues, Mizzou, NFL. The game's always on. Open 7 days a week in De Pere. Grab your friends, grab a cold beer. We'll see you at the Village Bar.
A little head east on a Tuesday morning.
You're not old enough to remember this.
I'm. It's a little ahead of my time, but I do know about this connection, and I love the picture of the album at the Olivet
Flat as a
Diner.
pancake at Olivet Diner. Yes,
I
yes,
absolutely
yes.
love it. Pancakes, by the way. Go to Olivet Diner and get some today. They're very, very good. You're listening to the Frank and Jill Show. Alvin Reed sitting in for Frank today, who's on assignment. Happy to report that Frank is finally getting another staff member in the sports department at KSDK. He and Corey have been holding down the fort along with some of the behind the scenes folks. Very understaffed for a long time.
Yeah,
so this is really good news. But we've missed him today, but nobody better to step in. Thanks so much for doing it last minute for us,
thank you.
Alvin.
Thank you.
It's really good. I love hearing you guys on the Royal Banks of Missouri text line, more than we can even read here, about so many of you weighing in. I just asked the question, do you care that we're not going to see the ads from Schnucks anymore? They announced the last day or two that they no longer would be sending them. And so it's several of you did say, no, I compare prices online. But many of you saying from the 314 something similar to this sentiment. I really miss the printed ads. I think the digital format is more time-consuming, not always accurate. Many times the sale price doesn't show up. I just like the old-fashioned paper, much easier. Somebody else very sad about no ads for now, both Deerbergs and Schnucks. I use those as passive purchase planning. Grab the ad and the Sharpie and the things I wanted, and then I just circled them. Liz saying, you have to come up with a new method, and none of us like to do that when it comes to managing our households.
I did that too. That was how I would do it with the flyers.
Yeah. And somebody else saying, I like getting the ads in the mail. It helps with meal planning. And by the way, with the current cost of groceries, I'm back to being very budget conscious. I only purchase certain items, bacon, chuck roast, crab legs when they're on sale. Man, beef, the price of beef, I still can't get used to it.
We will get steaks, kind of not to sound too bourgeois here, but the filet mignon packages at Sam's, okay? Decent price. I got home 2 days ago and told my wife, I said, hey, honey, that package of steaks that we bought for $55, that was $77.
Yeah.
That's over. So and that was just like, oh, my goodness. And the butcher was saying, it did have something to do with the Argentine beef, and not that is Argentine beef, but if you take something out of the total amount of beef coming out, then that makes everything else go up because you don't have that quantity. It was sticker shock. It really was.
Yeah, same for us. We don't, I know the doctors tell us not to eat too much steak, and so we don't eat a ton of red meat. But for Christmas, we tend to do a big filet. Went to Costco because usually it's a pretty affordable place to do it. And I kept thinking, I'm reading this wrong. This is a bigger cut of meat that I'm used to. I was just like, I need a small business loan to buy this piece of meat. Special occasion, but still.
All right, let me ask you this, Jill. Texture. 99% of people missing ads are over 60. hyperbole, or do you think there's something to that?
Probably it's what what you've been used to, and that was just how we did it. I'm under 60 by a few years, but it's kind of how it just was part of my meal planning, part of the way I just would grab those ads from the paper and see what was on sale, and it's tradition or habit. Connor, have you ever decided about what groceries to buy based on a flyer you got in the mail?
I'd see the deals. It might push me in a direction.
Yeah.
But it's been a while since I really looked at them. I think now that I'm thinking about it.
So not necessarily a habit, but if it caught your eye on the front page of it, you
Yeah,
might
that's
be
right.
like, okay, I might get that,
Yeah.
whatever's on sale. Yeah, I think that's true. The one that I kind of enjoy reading too, actually, I get the publications I get from Costco. It's like a good magazine.
Yeah, we get one from Sam's too, right?
And it's kind of interesting. And then the Trader Joe's. Do you ever read their mailer? It's funny, quirky. It's
Right.
kind of like reading an old farmer's almanac.
Oh, exactly.
In
The
some
one that
ways.
came out before Thanksgiving was really good.
Yeah.
And my wife and I got a kick out of that one.
Hey, second hour of the Frank and Jill Show coming up. Joe Holloman back from vacation with some interesting stories on our local political scene. And then a little bit later, local author Amy Powell on a book that could be changing some women's lives in our area. You'll find out why. Lots more after the news.
Between all the holiday parties,
weekend tailgates,
and family get-togethers. Oh, they're here. Hey, who needs something to drink?
we've been overindulging a little more than usual. Thank goodness we both added active liver to our diets to give our livers some much-needed support so we have the energy we need to enjoy the holidays.
Active Liver from New Nordic contains a powerful blend of turmeric, milk thistle, and globe artichoke extract, designed to give your liver maximum protection and help it do vital jobs, like removing toxins from alcohol, rich foods, and sweets.
Try Active Liver today and enjoy all the holiday treats with the peace of mind of knowing you're giving your liver some relief.
Find Active Liver online at Amazon, Vitacost.com, or iHerb.com. Or pick it up today at CVS, Meijer Grocery, or ShopRite. Enjoy life to the fullest with Active Liver.
Jill Farmer here with Jeff Zufall, Senior Tax Strategist and Wealth Advisor at Capital Advisory Group and author of the #1 best-selling book on taxes, Keep What's Yours, and host of Keep What's Yours every Saturday at 3. Jeff, it's a new year. What should we be thinking about in January?
Welcome to 2026. The holidays are behind us, and as a business owner, that means closing the books on 2025 and getting those W-2s and 1099s prepared to mail by the end of this month. As daunting as that might sound, it doesn't have to be. This year, we're celebrating 50 years helping area businesses get their financial plans in order, reduce their tax liabilities, and stop overpaying their federal and state income taxes. I'm also launching my newest book, Keeping What's Yours, the strategic tax planning guide for the One Big Beautiful Bill, this month. Tax law changes mean now more than ever, you will want an expert helping you prepare for 2026 and beyond.
To learn more, give Jeff and his team at Capital Advisory Group a call at 636-394-5524 or online at capitaladvisorygrp.com.
International criticism for the military capture of Venezuela's ousted leader, Nicolas Maduro, and his wife. Both pleaded not guilty to drug trafficking and conspiracy charges yesterday in federal court. Today, President Trump, speaking to House Republicans at their annual working retreat at the Kennedy Center, defended the move.
It was an amazing military feat that took place yesterday. Think of it, an amazing military.
ABC's James Longman is in Colombia near Venezuela's border with more on international reaction.
You would expect that from countries like China and Russia. These are allies of Venezuela, but also allies of the United States. The French says this operation chips away at the international world order, and there is also deep concern about all the countries that Donald Trump has started threatening since Maduro's capture. They include Colombia, Cuba, Mexico, and of course Denmark.
Today marks 5 years since the January 6th attacks at the U.S. Capitol. A plaque to honor police officers who battled the mob and restored order on that day still has not been posted. ABC's Stephen Portnoy has details.
A law passed in 2022 requires the posting of a plaque on the west front of the Capitol facing the National Mall, listing the names of each of the law enforcement officers who responded to the riot. The law called for that plaque's posting within a year. Nearly 4 years later, it's still not up. A lawsuit was filed last summer by 2 police officers aiming to force the architect of the Capitol to install the plaque. The Trump administration is now seeking its dismissal, saying the 2 officers don't have standing to sue.
In Texas, opening statements underway in the criminal trial of Adrian Gonzalez. The former Uvalde school police officer is charged with endangering students in the 2022 mass shooting at Robb Elementary. He's one of 2 officers to face criminal charges in the botched and delayed police response. 19 students and 2 teachers were killed on that day. You're listening to ABC News.
You're still grooving, still connecting, still loving, still turning up, still thriving. You still got it, but your immune system, it weakens as you age. That's where vaccines come in. They help train and strengthen your immune response to fight off respiratory illnesses like flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, or COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Book in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. Ever wonder why Big Wireless wants you on an unlimited plan? They probably want you to cover the cost of those 20-somethings using all that data every month. But most people 50 and up like me only use 12 gigs or less. Don't get bamboozled by Big Wireless. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Our plans start at just $20, and we use the same towers as the big guys. Join the millions who choose something better, because if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com/fax, or a store near you. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Insurance.
56 degrees at 11:03 with KTRS News. I'm Steve Potter. Flu cases are rising in Missouri. Health officials report nearly 9,000 new cases in the final week of 2025. Nearly 3,000 of those cases were in St. Louis and St. Charles counties. Meanwhile, the Illinois Department of Public Health is urging residents to take precautions. Officials say flu activity in the state has climbed to very high in recent days, while COVID-19 rates have climbed to moderate levels. Dr. Robert Citronberg of Advocate Healthcare told WLS Chicago that he's seen a significant increase in flu cases this year.
Even though the flu shot may not be perfect this year in terms of covering the strains, it still helps prevent severe illness and death.
He says it's not too late to get vaccinated and that it could be weeks before the number of flu cases level off. A 23-year-old Lake St. Louis man has been charged with a burglary at the City Museum in downtown St. Louis. Police say surveillance footage from November shows 5 individuals forcing their way inside the museum while it was closed. One of them was identified by a witness. Police are still searching for the other suspects. And police were called to the Bar Branch Library on Jefferson Avenue yesterday morning and found several windows and doors smashed and a man inside. Police say they believe 2 people were involved in the break-in, but the second person has not yet been located. A former Ward 3 St. Louis alderman is accused of campaign finance violations. The Missouri Ethics Commission handed down nearly $50,000 in fines to former St. Louis alderman Brandon Bosley. Officials say he failed to terminate his 2023 election committee within the required period following the general election. An effort to force a statewide vote on Missouri's new congressional map is dealt a setback. The Missouri Secretary of State's office has thrown out nearly 17,000 pages of petition signatures collected by the group People Not Politicians. Officials say the signatures that were thrown out were discarded because they were collected before the referendum petition was certified. The U.S. Figure Skating Championships gets underway tomorrow, and that has Winterfest extending its events through the weekend.
Through a partnership with the Gateway Arts Park Foundation, the annual Winterfest celebration in Keener Plaza will be extended to run through the U.S. Figure Skating Championships. It will act as a fan fest with a weekend full of skating-focused programming with events on January 9, 10, and 11th. All are invited to attend special open skate sessions on the Winterfest rink led by Learn to Skate USA. Former Olympians, including Dorothy Hamill, Scott Hamilton, and Tenley Albright, are set to make appearances. There will be interactive art displays, family-friendly activities, and live music across Keener Plaza. All Winterfest events are free and open to the public unless otherwise noted. A schedule can be found at archpark.org. Sobe Bay, KTRS News.
This KTRS Business Minute brought to you by Walter Knoll Florist, the place for all your floral needs. Place your order anytime at WKF.com. Schnuck Markets will stop its mailed weekly grocery ads at the end of the month, they say, due to a consumer shift towards more digital forms of communication. Schnucks says its printed weekly grocery ads will still be available at the entrances to its stores. And now a look at the markets brought to you by JBL Financial. Tune into Straight Talk on Retirement Saturday mornings from 9 to 11. The Dow is up 269 points at 49,247. NASDAQ up 41 at 23,435. And the S&P 500 up 18 at 6,920. In sports, SLU basketball is receiving votes in both the AP and coaches' top 25 polls. The Billikens are 13-1, having scored 100 points or more in 3 of their past 4 games. Weather-wise, we're looking for sunny skies today, an afternoon high near 61, mostly clear tonight, an overnight low in the mid-30s, then sunny again tomorrow with a high of 62. At 7 minutes past 11 o'clock, we have sunny skies, 56 degrees at the Gold Tower at Westport. Steve Potter, KTRS News, the talk of St. Louis.
Welcome back to the Frank and Jill Show, the second hour. Jill Farmer, Alvin Reed in for Frank today, who's out on assignment. Connor here, too, starting out with a little bit of Lunatic Fringe in the second hour. What was the movie, Loudon Swain, the wrestling movie that this was in?
With the family.
Yes, I'll think of it. I know the Royal Banks of Missouri text line. You guys are better than me. You'll come up with it, or maybe Joe Holloman knows. We've missed you on vacation, Joe, but hope you had a really good time and got to recharge your batteries a bit. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's great to be here. Happy New Year, you guys.
Hot topic, top of the news today on the Frank and Jill Show. Not international news regarding national leaders. It's the fact that Schnucks has announced it's not going to be sending us the ads at home anymore, sparking a lot of conversation. Are you going to miss having the grocery ads sent to your house now that Schnucks says it's not doing it anymore and Deerbergs gave it up a little while ago?
Personally, myself, no. I'm a, for the lack of a better way to put it, I'm a guy grocery shopper. So the notion of a coupon or something, I just kind of go into a store.
You let your stomach do the shopping?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because apparently the grocery bills are much higher when I go in because I pretty much do the impulse buy from the start of aisle 1 to the dairy section. So
yeah, I remember once sending my husband and father-in-law in to do some last-minute shopping. My mother-in-law came home. They had a long list, and what they remembered to bring home was prosciutto and pickles. We're like, in what stratosphere was this? What was on the list? It was not there. Hey, you had a front page story this weekend trying to dive a little more deeply into the question that has been bantied about a lot when it comes to political discussions in the St. Louis region. Is Josh Hawley priming himself to run to be the next president of the United States?
And the hardcore concrete answer is possibly. I mean, I always tell people when you either get assigned this story or you look at Taglis' story, the odds of me picking the 2028 winner of the World Series might be better than picking who are going to be the candidates in 2028 because they have the old saying, oft repeated, that tomorrow is a long time in politics. I do think what we have is that when it comes to at least Missouri's 2 U.S. senators, we have one who is clearly, Eric Schmidt, lined himself with the Donald Trump administration. And we have Josh Hawley, who most of the time aligned, but is picked spots where to disagree with the administration. And a lot of national political observers see this as at least a sign of testing the waters. And as one local Republican consultant, Greg Keller, mentioned, which I think is a good point, is it's really about keeping options open. And I think that's what Senator Hawley is at least seems to be doing, is to say that, yes, I'm a Republican. I go for the majority of all the programs that the Republicans back. But I have some differences, and that does leave you a bit of a wiggle room. Because right now, let's say one would have to say, like they would with anybody, that the person most likely to succeed Donald Trump is the person who's vice president. Mm-hmm. And you can go back to like Mondale over Carter. That vice president is owed some things by the party. So it's very hard to just discount a vice presidential candidate and say, we're not going to entertain your run for the presidency. So if he is the front runner, and obviously now with recent events, which also changed the Hawley question, Marco Rubio, very high profile. So you have the 2 people that people say, well, here will probably be one of the 2 candidates. But then below that, you have people who will be vice presidents, who will be secretary of state. There had been talk earlier on that Eric Schmidt was going to become attorney general when Donald Trump was reelected. So it's all kind of positioning yourself on what gives me the best advantage. And I think that's what both Republican and Democrat consultants, at least who deal in Missouri politics, see Josh Hawley as doing.
All right, well, Josh Hawley's going to run for president, Joe. So, I mean, he's going to run. Or are you running for president when you create your exploratory committee? I think that will happen, and I think so technically, he's going to be in the race for president. Maybe he'll decide not to go for the long run, but, he's going to run in some way, shape, or form.
And I see what you're saying, Alvin, and you and I have kind of had this disagreement, not really a disagreement. I agree with you that if you're doing other than, let's say, like Dick Durbin is not running for president, it's clear. So basically anybody who's doing anything is potentially running. And is he actively keeping his options open? But it's one of those things that a year from now, any one of the people, Rubio or J.D. Vance, could go, I'm not running. I mean, so yes, if you want to say today someone is running, I believe that can be a correct statement. But I'm not going to be surprised if any of the people, probably outside of Rubio and Vance, who all of a sudden just go, you know what, it just doesn't seem to be there, then they quit running. So, I mean, I think it's just one of those things that's saying it's sort of like trying to say that the Cardinals are aiming for the 2028 World Series. Of course we are.
All right.
Now, is that going to be realistic come 2027? Who knows?
Who knows? All right. Okay. Let's make it local. All right. Are you surprised that we don't have a sheriff? We don't have a process for hiring a new sheriff, that the governor and the board of aldermen and the mayor's office have come to an agreement that we're not going to do anything. So we're just sheriffless. How are we ever going to survive, Joe?
Well, I think this is a good test, Alvin. We can just keep, we're going to do just fine. Is what it is. I mean, this is an office that I remember some years ago, before I was even, because I thought, I want to be sheriff, and I promise you, you give me 4 years, and I'll kill the office. That was my promise to the voters of St. Louis, that it was an office that could just go away and have an appointed sheriff. If you want to have someone wear a uniform with a badge, and so certainly somebody needs to do the duties that sheriffs. I'm not criticizing deputies. There has to be courthouse security, process serving has to be done, all kinds of jobs that need to be done. But to have this as an elected office is beyond absurd. And so, and we all know what these offices are for. It's so elected politicians can reward people who help them get elected with jobs. It's pure old school, old decade, pre-World War II patronage is all this is. And so anytime someone says you could probably get rid of that office, my God, that would have to be first on my list of jobs that could be changed to just an appointed position.
You have to wait until I'm going to apply to be the interim sheriff, because I figured, like, hey, pays well and I get to carry a gun.
And Alvin, considering certain elements, I could possibly support you.
Yeah,
so let's talk. If
I was going to say, I speaking of patronage, I'd take care of you. We'd have to waive that live in the city thing.
Mm-hmm, yeah, I was going to say.
And I'm not. Wait, that's not hating. That's not hating on the city. It's just that I have a house in Kirkwood.
Right.
Well, yeah, and then and that's and we're having fun here.
Yeah.
But literally, that's what that job kind of breaks down to. And we're kind of laughing about it, but it's like, okay, I got elected. Let's get my friend's job.
Yeah, it does. I just was going to say, it just seems to be one of those jobs where that we keep talking about it being somebody who's looking for a somewhat an easy job and then gets in there and then tries to pretend that it's a lot harder than it actually is. And in this case, made a mess of things, I think, no matter where you are on the spectrum.
Alfred Montgomery took it's sort of that thing of had a do nothing job and decided to do stuff and then decided to do everything wrong.
Yeah, good.
So,
well said.
It would have been much better if somebody say, if you elect me sheriff, I promise not to change a thing. Would have been a far better pick.
Right.
So.
Since we didn't get a chance to talk to you as we did with some of our other regular folks, kind of on that year in review. I know we're already 6 days into 2026, but I am curious if you're looking back in the last year, particularly when we're looking at the Governor Kehoe and Mayor Kara Spencer, who are, we're kind of have a year in the job-ish. to look at what they have done, what they haven't done. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are in terms of effectiveness, what they've been able to change that matters, and just your insights on that.
I think the one thing, I think if you look back on the year politically, I felt a desire from voters, both left and right, call them liberal, conservative, whatever, a desire for results as opposed to rhetoric, at least the beginning. Now, you may not agree with the things that Mayor Spencer has done in the city, all the things, or the things that Mike Kehoe has done, but I think that there seems to be a bit of a growing feeling that there really needs to stop being all the posturing, right or left, about these positions. And I want my governor to take care of, schools and state police and state roads. I want my mayor to fix potholes and pick up garbage. And I think that was the thing that I saw, was just this kind of, let's maybe get off the rhetoric. Let's get off the taking positions. It always, I covered City Hall on several different occasions, was when City Hall would stop and debate several hours about the situation in the Middle East, as if what the Board of Aldermen said had anything to do with anything in the lives of the people they represent for city services. And I think what we're seeing is people is like, that's all fine and good, but how about fixing the problems we have? So I think that was the biggest change I saw. And I give Spencer and Kehoe certainly at least passing grades on, if not necessarily agreeing with every move they made, but the notion of let's make some moves that might actually do something as opposed to just stake some philosophical position.
All right, we'll probably do this on the show on Thursday, Joe. I don't know if you're on or if Sarah's on,
I'm off this week. I'm off this
okay, man, you're already on vacation. All right, but now you get an extra week too. All right, what are we going to be talking about here in the coming months here in St. Louis?
Yeah, it's very good. It's a really good question. The sheriff thing kind of seems to be the entertainment side. For the light and breezy entertainment side, we always have the sheriff's department. I think we're going to be looking at certainly as in the coming months when the tornado and Alvin, you've worked for newspapers, so you know what it's like. There's always the 3 months anniversary after the tornado, the 6 months after the 100 days. Yeah, but I think when it hits the year point, I think it's going to be okay, where are we now? And I think a lot of deadlines that get set about how's progress going. It was a major tornado, and I don't think, and I'm speaking as a city resident, I don't think I was expecting any good gauge of how's the recovery coming to really present itself until after 1 year. I know that is a lifetime for the people affected by that. I am not unsympathetic to that notion. But the idea to be able to correct the issue, I think is one of those things. So I think when the year rolls around in May, I think there's going to be some questions that need to be answered by the city, the state, whatever, as to, okay, where are we now after 1 year and what still needs to be done? So I think that's one thing. I think city schools will never go away as far as what the issue is going on there. I think they're with the things that, and I will give a shout out to my colleague Blythe Bernard on stories that wrote about this city school board. I think there's also a new attitude of people are looking at this and saying, is there any chance to save this system? Because everybody's finally getting through their head that if you wish to save the city, you need to have a viable public school system. And so I think those two issues will probably, one, the immediate, how are we doing on tornado recovery, and the bigger picture, what, if anything, can be done to bring the city schools back up to an acceptable level.
Really, really good stuff. Joe Holloman, always fun to have you back. Always glad that you got a little vacation because you are working so hard, but grateful that you're willing to join us in 2026 as well. We look forward to many more Tuesday morning conversations with you, and have a great week.
Well, very nice. And you two have a great day. And Alvin, I'll see you soon.
We'll see each other soon, man. Oh, you a drink. Oh, you a couple of drinks, don't I?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Oh, sounds like the after show is a lot more fun on the Donnybrook
I'm surprised
crowd.
that wasn't the first thing he said, right?
Just awesome. Hey, 20 Minutes to Fitness is a fitness studio where you can build strength and bone density with just one. I know it sounds impossible, but it is true. 20-minute session a week. Most people think to get fit, especially this time of year, everybody's thinking about, I got to get back to the gym. I need to commit to doing it maybe 3, 5, 7 days a week. Using scientifically based strength building methods, 20 Minutes to Fitness makes it possible to achieve the same or better results than a lot of folks have multiple times a week in just one 20-minute session a week. How is that possible, Jill? Sounds too good to be true. I get it. You know, as a former consumer reporter, I promise I would not tell you something that I didn't know from firsthand experience works, because I'm doing it and it definitely works. They're not like other gyms because you work out with the personal trainer by your side, sets the equipment, make sure you use proper form. I'm talking Leslie corrects my form down to the millimeter, and I'm not exaggerating. Encourages me, and she's tracking my performance. So I might be doing lifting in the gym, and I'm like, I think that's 10. I'm pretty sure I counted right. No, she's counting every single time. She's timing me. She is on high-end physical therapy equipment, the kind of stuff we could never afford to have at home or at most gyms. Takes each of your major muscle groups to exhaustion. Only takes 2 to 3 minutes per machine to reach this point. During your time off during the week, that's when your muscle is rebuilding and growing stronger. They've been doing this for 24 years. Many of their customers have been there almost since day one. Locations in both Chesterfield and Clayton. Check them out online, 20minutestofitness.com.
The University of Missouri St. Louis offers academic programs at the undergraduate, graduate, doctoral, and professional levels to fit any passion, purpose, and schedule. At UMSL, more is what moves us. Find your more at more.umsl.edu.
Hey, St. Louis. Eddie McVeigh here from Maggie O'Brien's, reminding everyone that I'm looking forward to seeing you at one of our 2 locations. Whether it be for lunch, happy hour, dinner, or late night, Maggie's is the place to be. Don't forget to catch our shuttle to all the major events downtown. And if you need a banquet room, small or large, for that special occasion, please give us a call at Maggie O'Brien's. Maggie O'Brien's 2 locations on South Lindbergh and Sunset Hills and downtown at the corner of Market and 20th Street. Union Station is next to us.
Kuna Food Service has been the trusted food supplier in the Midwest since 1918. For over 100 years, Kuna Food Service has been distributing the highest quality food products to some of your favorite restaurants while delivering superior customer service. When a restaurant puts their trust in Kuna Food Service, they get a team that truly cares about their success. That's why at Kuna, they like to say, they're big enough to handle it, yet small enough to care. Check them out online at kunafoodservice.com.
Recently, a good friend of mine was changing the light fixture in their kitchen, and they took the light fixture off the ceiling, and they looked inside the ceiling and said, what is the phone number to Michael Baldy? If they would have listened to me, they would have put Michael Baldy's phone number in their phone, because everybody needs a good electrician on speed dial. So here you go. The next time you need an electrician, you need to remember Michael Baldy and Baldy Electric. So the phone number, 314-968-9999. Indoor, outdoor, an old Victorian home, knob and tube wiring, and anything and everything in between. You see, Michael Baldy is a licensed electrician, and he has a team ready to go. Whether it's something for the ceiling in the kitchen, something for the lights for the holidays, whatever it may be, Michael Baldy and Baldy Electric. BaldyElectric.com, 314-968-9999, because everybody needs a good electrician on speed dial. BaldyElectric.com.
Farmers and ranchers, when it's time to buy or sell ag equipment, think Purple Wave Auction. We're your go-to online marketplace for tractors, combines, sprayers, and more. With our no reserve policy, every item sells to the highest bidder. Experience the Purple Wave difference. Nationwide reach with a local touch. Purple Wave Auction. Whether you're expanding your operation or streamlining your fleet, we've got you covered. Visit purplewave.com today. Fuel your farm with Purple Wave Auction.
The Bommarito Automotive Group is Missouri's #1 automotive group. They've sold over 1 million vehicles by giving you a better price, a better selection, and more for your trade. You can shop them online, see their entire inventory online at bommarito.com.
Want a song?
You're on my mind like the song on the radio.
Want a quote? It's the song and quote of the day on the Frank and Jill Show. Right here on the Big 550, KTRS.
Welcome back to the Frank and Jill Show, wrapping up our last half hour. It is speeding by this morning. Alvin Reed joining me on the show today. Frank's out on assignment. He should be back tomorrow. Connor McCarthy here as well. And of course, every single Thursday, we bring you the weekly special where we highlight local restaurants. And Alvin Reed, guess what? We're doing an Italian restaurant this week.
I would have never guessed.
Frank Cusmato does have some connections to some Italian restaurants, but this is a new-ish place on the hill called Marconi Mercato. I don't know if you've been there yet.
I have not.
Great things, supposed to be really, really fun. And there's some neat connections and roots to some other classic Italian restaurants in town for this new place that you guys are going to want to tune in to listen. And Connor, I bet you they're going to bring something tasty for us to enjoy as well.
That would be great.
Yes. Did you get to eat your sandwich yesterday?
I did have the sandwich.
And how was it?
It was very good.
Yeah.
Even though it was a couple days in the fridge.
Evaldi's on the Hill was in last Friday. Connor happened to be off. They brought us some real good, tasty sandwiches. And so Frank had assured Connor that they preserve well in the fridge. And you did have
I did have
for
it.
lunch yesterday. You can indeed confirm
there you
that
go.
is true. So one of the things, I have this theory based largely on my extremely hip mother-in-law who's on top of both new music and all kinds of things that have to do with current events in the world more than I am, that it helps keep you young to do that, to stay up on music and events happening in the world. When I looked at the list of top songs of 2025, I was real lost. Didn't know a lot of the...
I've given it up. I've pretty much given it up.
Well, in an attempt to try to make us all a little hipper this week, I'm playing in the Song of the Day some of the top songs, according to places like Billboard Magazine and Rolling Stone Magazine of 2025 that many of us, both in the studio, not Connor, he knows all of them, but those of us over a certain age in the studio, as well as our listening audience, may not have heard. So the Song of the Day today is by Missouri's own Chapel Roan. Give it a listen and see what you think. I like it. I'm trying to decide now if it seems familiar to me because I listened to it when I picked the song, or if I actually did hear it at previous times throughout the year. Connor, you knew this song, I'm sure.
I've heard it. Yes.
Yes, and do you know about Chapel Roan?
I do not. This is the first time I've heard this song.
She is a Grammy Award-winning singer-songwriter known for her she has a very bold, in some ways drag-inspired aesthetic and very campy pop anthems, but she is originally from Willard, Missouri.
Okay.
Very, very small town, other side of the state. And how she ended up where she is today, that's not the name that she was born with, but it's a pretty incredible story. She's a pretty interesting person, and she has made it to the top of the charts now multiple times. So if you like seeing somebody from Missouri making good, Chapel Roan is doing that. She's not everybody's favorite because she's a little bit controversial in some varieties of ways, but I think it's pretty fun to have somebody from our state doing this well.
Yeah, I support anybody. If they're from your hometown, your home state, hey, give them a shout out.
Yeah, I think so too. Even when it's not, a couple of people are like, well, I don't like pop music. I was like, that's okay, but that doesn't mean you want to not wish her doing well or other people doing well who, even if you're singing songs that aren't our cup of tea, so to speak, to quote my grandma. Greg Warren, of course, local comedian. All of us so proud of him when he was on the Tonight Show back in, I think it was December 19th. Webster Kirkwood Times just did a big story on about, because we're so proud of this native son. So I thought it would be fun kind of continuing our pride. I mean, he didn't know me from Adam, but I'm always bragging about, Greg Warren is really, really funny. St. Louis guy, lives here, by the way. He did a recent bit that tickled my funny bone anyway on the way that old guys talk, or in some cases, old women like me. Keep it going. It's good. It's good. I mean, how true?
How true. Exactly. Exactly. And I find myself like, so, yeah, sometimes I find myself being that person.
Oh, of course.
Right. It's
Sometimes my kids would say every day. I mean, do you? We often, John and I often look at each other with the Progressive commercials.
Oh, yeah.
And say, I feel attacked. I feel so attacked right now. I mean, when they first came out, honestly, we were like, oh, God, that's your dad. Yeah, that's your dad. That's your mom. And now we're like, it's us.
It's us.
It's
yeah, that's
us.
kind of me. Kind of me.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. There's the especially the person being the unwanted helper, like the guy at the Starbucks when he starts like helping the barista when nobody asked for the help. John, maybe it's Ian. It's too good. My daughters are like, if the shoe
There
fits,
was
Mom.
one that I don't know if it's new or not, but I just saw it. He's asking questions at the valet service.
I haven't
new.
seen that
He's
one.
like, so are you guys employed by the building or are you a separate service? I was like, I feel like I've seen my parents and others their age ask that question of valets and other just a lot of nonsense questions that don't really matter.
Yeah, and the guy from the of course advisor, the consultant, the coach in his ear saying, "No one cares, no one knows, no one cares. Keep going, don't."
Right.
And then the guy just kind of looks at him and like, "I'm going to squeeze in one more question." You know,
I do strike up conversations with people in situations that I've never met or anything. You're just sitting there and I'll say something. Now, it's not maybe the $9 hot dog, but I will just talk to people, and we should do that. I mean, we should all still do that. However, I don't, Kate's boy, I have a friend, he was up in Minnesota where his sister or in-laws live, and he said it was right out of a Progressive commercial. I got up, and my brother-in-law yells like halfway across the restaurant, "Hey, use that bathroom on the right because the one on the left, the paper towels are..." Like everybody's looking like, okay, was that an emergency that I had to blurt that out? So.
my friend, speaking of Minnesota, my cousin Inga from Minnesota. I'm not making that up. It is true. I have some Nordic roots.
We lived in Lansing. By the way, shout out to the person who was listening up in Lansing. I hear you, and yeah, it's cold, but same thing. There are a lot of people in Minnesota that have Nordic names.
I know, my cousins are.
in Michigan they have Nordic names.
Yeah, and Inga Nels, but Inga famously tells a story. She'd been living in Boston, med school at Harvard, blah, blah, for a long time, came back to Minnesota with her now wife, who's grew up in New York and Boston. And she walked up to her and said, "Amy," this is her wife, "somebody's talking to you." And she looked at her and said, "Yeah, I know, but I think she's crazy. She just walked up to me and started talking to me at the luggage carousel." And she's like, "No, she's being friendly. This is not a crazy person. This is somebody who's just making conversation." It's something we do here in the Midwest. Hey, speaking of something we do, we listen to Jeff Zufall when it comes to financial advice, when it comes to tax advice, and you should when it comes to business advice. A lot of us have gotten to know the fact that Jeff is really good at wealth management, at Capital Advisory Group and his team, and at tax-informed wealth management, which means not overpaying on your taxes. That's why he's written the #1 bestseller on taxes, Keep What's Yours, a new book coming out in mere days called Keeping What's Yours. You can find it on Amazon or on the website at capitaladvisorygrp.com. But a lot of you may not realize that if you're a business owner and you've been using a bookkeeper type only to do your taxes, you may be missing out on a lot of the changes in the tax law that could actually put more money toward your bottom line. So make this your year. If you're a small business owner or if you know one in your life, have them reach out to Jeff and his team at Capital Advisory Group to make sure that you are doing the best you can do for your businesses, maximizing your profits to be as successful as you can be in 2026. 636-394-5524, capitaladvisorygrp.com.
You know, over the years, Lordo's has become part of the family for many, many St. Louis families. For 80 years, they've been helping St. Louis families with all of the jewelry needs, whether it's the diamond ring, a diamond ring, maybe something for St. Patrick's Day, something for an anniversary, Valentine's Day. Throughout the years and throughout the calendar, it's Lordo's as your go-to. Whether it's men or women, you want to repurpose something or buy something new, Lordo's Diamonds in the heart of Ladue on Clayton Road. You see, it's a family business. The family's been running it for years, and they learned it from their father, who learned it from their father. And so that family jeweler, it's where generations of St. Louisans go. Grandparents have gone there. Your grandkids will go there. Right there in Ladue on Clayton Road, across the street from a Norman Rockwell-esque firehouse, is Lordo's Diamonds. Go in, make a friend, and make them your family jeweler, because you can thank me later. 314-432-8008 or online, lordosdiamonds.com.
Feeling sluggish or just not quite yourself? It might be time to optimize your hormones. Heidi here for Premier U, the experts in helping men and women feel their absolute best. Premier U specializes in personalized hormone optimization to boost energy, improve mental clarity, and enhance overall wellness. Take charge of your health today. Visit premierumed.com and discover how hormone optimization can transform your life. 2 locations on both sides of the river with telemed options. Premier U, where better health begins.
You've had all these great ideas about what to do with your outside space. Now's the time to take the next step and call Outdoor Living, because Pat Leahy and the gang at Outdoor Living have built a showroom, which is a great resource for you. You can go in and see all the products they have, the composite decking, the metal framing. You see, at Outdoor Living, what they pride themselves on is building it right the first time and never having to worry about it again. So they build it. You can enjoy it for the rest of your life. Outdoor Living, their showroom on Big Bend and I-44 in Kirkwood, is a great resource for you. You can go and see all the different ways and all the different things they can do. Then they'll come out, they'll do a site visit, and in just a few short weeks, you will have the dream deck, fence, gazebo, pergola, whatever it may be. Outdoor Living right there in Big Bend and I-44 in Kirkwood. 314-966-3325 or OutdoorLivingInc.com. Check out the showroom and take that next step. You'll love it. Outdoor Living or OutdoorLivingInc.com.
And now, KTRS weather.
Boy, what a stretch of fantastic January weather. If you are not a fan of the deep winter cold, you are in luck. Again, we'll be about 20 degrees above normal this afternoon. My forecast high at 60. We actually have a weak front moving through this morning. No wet weather expected along that front, but some pockets of clouds this morning, and then mostly sunny this afternoon. Mostly clear tonight, down to 36 for the overnight low. Let's keep it beautiful tomorrow, too. Mostly sunny, a high of 62 on Wednesday. Umbrellas are going to come out, though, Thursday. That's when rain is likely, and then temperatures tumble back to near normal winter levels this weekend. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers on the Big 550 KTRS.
Welcome back to the Frank and Jill Show on KTRS, the Big 550, the Talk of St. Louis. Really glad you're with us here today, and you'll be glad you're here for this next conversation as well. Amy Powell was an international business consultant and coach, and she learned a lot of things working with some of the top companies in the world during her time in places like Australia, heard of it. She now lives in St. Louis, and she's written a recent book on the 7 practical strategies for women specifically to advance their careers authentically. We're going to talk to her a little bit about what led her to want to write this book and the kind of impact it's having. It's called Rise Like a Woman, 7 Strategies to Step Up, Stand Out, and Succeed at Work. Amy Powell, thanks so much for joining us. We're really glad you're here today.
And I am very, very glad to be here. Thank you.
So take us back to your days working internationally, consulting and coaching leaders at some of the top companies in the world you were in Australia for a number of years.
That's right. I was in Australia for more years than I want to admit, but a long time. Worked with very senior leaders in some of the biggest multinational companies that were based there, and had a great career doing that. And then along the way was asked to start doing that same work with mid-level women managers. And so that's kind of where this all came from. It was like, take what you have learned from working with senior executives who've been very, very successful and see what you can teach to these women.
Okay, like you say, you have your 7 strategies, all right? But when you were developing the book, did you already have those in your mind, or did you say
No.
I gotta reduce it down to something that people can ingest?
Yeah, it's kind of neither of those in a way. It was like I just wrote the book, and then when I finished the book and kind of took a chapter out here and took a chapter out there, I realized that I had 7, and that was how it ended up being 7 strategies. But it seemed like a good number, so
lucky 7.
I think of you as a really good interpreter in some ways because you saw what worked for the people who were in. It's. Everybody may start out as a young person or a young woman who's your target audience here thinking, I'd like to be in the C-suite. I'd like to be in leadership. And you understood that a lot of the people that made it into the C-suite, made it into leadership, were understanding some things that weren't necessarily being understood or interpreted by those who were sort of more stuck in that middle space. So what would be an example, if you could give us, of the things that people are missing when they're in that middle ground, especially women, that keeps them from continuing to move into higher positions?
Yeah. Well, and this is true of some men, and it is true of many, many women. But one issue is the issue of visibility, and that is one of the strategies in the book. And what happens is that women get into this idea that they need to just do everything perfectly, and they need to do everything by themselves, and then they need to come out with this wonderful finished product, and then they have not connected with other people along the way. They haven't connected with them. They haven't learned from them. They haven't shown what they can do with them. Visibility is essential for anyone who wants to move up in an organization. And that was one of the things that I really learned from working with senior leaders.
Okay, when I came out of school and got my first newspaper job, I was 1983. Immediately in print journalism, women were in positions like there's no successful journalist out there who would say no, I had a woman boss pretty early.
Oh.
Why do you think that was unique for its time? It just seemed like while other industries were kind of saying a woman could be in charge, can be like the editor or the CEO or things like that. But it was happening late 70s, even probably going back to 10 years before, early 70s. And I always found that interesting, or unique. Is that true?
I didn't know much about journalism.
Okay, all right.
So
not to throw you a curve, but
yeah.
I always, I've always found that because people talk about the issues, right? And it's for some reason, it just wasn't really in the industry I was in. It really wasn't a problem. Right?
Trust me, it was in many industries.
And so let's talk a little bit, if you would, about the specific situation of you working with somebody in middle management, because you have coached all kinds of people at, I can't even name all the Fortune 50 companies that you've worked with people in. What was one of the things, visibility you mentioned, but what's a specific example of a situation where someone was holding themselves back without realizing they were holding themselves back, and you were able to coach them into growth?
Okay. Someone holding themselves back. I kind of want to use one more recent example.
Cool.
So I'm currently working with a lot of international women. And international women have this cultural thing that when you're told to do something, you don't push back on it. And it is for so many of them, that this is not all international women, of course, but from many cultures, they say, I would never be allowed to talk to my manager the way that Americans talk to their manager. So they have to learn that skill. They have to learn to be able to do that. And so I've had many women who have actually taken that step and talked to their managers about what they want and what they need, and with great outcomes.
Really, really good stuff. One of the other things that I thought was really interesting that you point out in the book is that in some ways, and again, this isn't universally, and I know a lot of these, as you said, a lot of these things can be helpful for men too, but women tend to be a little bit worse at identifying their own strengths. We're good at criticizing ourselves, good at noting what could be better, and so that can be a disadvantage. And we've all had that. I have to say, I saw that in the newsroom. I say it in the corporations where I do consulting. In many cases, there'll be men who are sort of over touting what it is that they're doing, and then the women are constantly underplaying their strengths. Talk about your experience in observing this and how you advise people to get past that. Because I don't want to be somebody who's walking around looking like I've got all this bravado, tooting my own horn. So how do I still name my strengths in a way that is an advantage for my growth and development without becoming somebody I don't want to become?
Yep. So you don't have to kind of put it out there all the time. Really, the most important thing is realizing it yourself. And so many women block that. They'll like when I ask them to talk about their strengths, I just get this deer in the headlights response, and it's like I'm not supposed to talk about my strengths. I don't feel comfortable talking about my strengths.
Nice women don't brag about themselves.
That's right. And so when you get them to acknowledge them themselves, then they can. There's lots of ways that they can bring them up. They can bring them up in a performance review or, many, many ways.
If you extrapolate the 7 strategies and just put them on a wall, they work for everybody, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, because I'm just noticing them, and I just like thinking of myself, and you have that rise with strengths as number 1. For some reason, I don't know if this is an American thing or whatever, but we tend to, like, if something is listed at number 1, that means it's the most important.
Yeah.
But basically, you just have 7. Do you list that one as in other words, you got 1 through 7, but they all carry equal weight, or are they weighted kind of?
Yeah, they don't all carry equal weight, but I would not say that is the most important. I just think it needs to come first, because you need to be aware of your strengths before you can move on to do these other things. Yeah.
A couple of the others that I think connect to each other a bit is that you advise people in your book. Again, Amy Powell is who we're talking to. The book is called Rise Like a Woman, 7 Strategies to Step Up, Stand Out, Succeed at Work. You talk about rising with authentic connection, genuine relationships, not just using other people. And then the other one that I think is related to that is aligning your work with your values. And I know I do a lot of work when I'm not wearing my hat at the radio station, is particularly in healthcare on burnout. I work with organizations and individuals and physicians to try to help them not burn out. And we know one of the best antidotes to burnout is to doing work that aligns with your values. Yes. How do we reconnect to building meaningful relationships instead of just being resentful at those darn colleagues of ours at work? And how do we connect back to our values and work that matters?
So if we look at building meaningful connections, that is, you were asking earlier about the most important things, and I would say that building connections is one of the most important things, absolutely, and having them be authentic, having them be real, because people will trust you, so important. In terms of how you do that, there are a lot of ways that you can do that. But I would say that the most important thing is to recognize that you have to step out of your comfort zone and move into connecting with others.
The book is called Rise Like a Woman, 7 Strategies to Step Up, Stand Out, Succeed at Work. You can buy it anywhere that you find books. Amy is here. Amy Powell, the author, is here in St. Louis. If somebody is listening to this and saying, gosh, I want you to come and talk to the women leaders in our organization, or I want you to come speak to our group, Amy, how can they reach out to you?
They can contact me on riselikeawoman.com. That is the website for the book. And also in the back of the book, I have my contact details.
Thank you for keeping it simple. Thanks for taking some time to talk to us here on the Frank and Jill Show. We have more coming up for you right after this.
Thank you.
You're still grooving, still connecting, still loving, still turning up, still thriving. You still got it, but your immune system, it weakens as you age. That's where vaccines come in. They help train and strengthen your immune response to fight off respiratory illnesses like flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, or COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Book in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
St. Louis Auto Show returns January 22nd through the 25th at the Americas Center. Bring the whole family and explore hundreds of new vehicles from the world's biggest automotive brands. Then get up close and personal with the coolest, most expensive rides ever created at the $1 Million Mile. There's even something for the kids with our Mid-America Chevy dealers, Sponsored Kids Zone. Get your tickets today at stlautoshow.com. Kids 12 and under get in free. That's stlautoshow.com.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
It's Sarah Haynes from The View. Today, stronger immunity and better nutrition are more important than ever. That's why Eggland's Best gives you and your family more. Compared to ordinary eggs, Eggland's Best provides 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, all helping you to maintain a strong immune system and better overall health. Plus, you get all that farm-fresh, delicious taste. These are no ordinary times, so why choose an ordinary egg? Only Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
What's your reason for listening to the Big 550?
Hey, it's Stacy from Collinsville. Me and my husband listen every day. Love the news coverage, all the things you guys offer throughout the day. Thank you, KTRS.
Hey, it's Will. I just wanted to let you know we have been listening for the full 29 years, and I would say you guys are the best in the city. Keep it up.
This is where St. Louis comes to talk.
Local ownership, live programming, and the most recognizable personalities on St. Louis radio.
We are the Big 550 KTRS, Louis.
St. Louis is home to more than 80,000 University of Missouri St. Louis alumni, where they drive the region's economy and contribute to its social and cultural well-being. At UMSL, more is what moves us. Find your more and build more connections at more.umsl.edu.
Welcome back to the Frank and Jill Show. We've had a very fun show today with some great conversations, and kind of feels like we're getting back into the rhythm of 2026 as the Frank and Jill Show. You mentioned at the top of the show, Alvin, that it was a little bit of kind of like jumping in that cold pool yesterday when you got back into the swing of...
really caught me off guard.
I think that's great. You know, we talked earlier in the show as well about how AI is representing you to the world accurately, by the way. But I do think you're doing a really good job in this season of life of doing what you love, but not at the frantic workaholic pace that maybe you did at previous times. How is that working for you? And do you see yourself sustaining this pace of work-life balance that isn't quite as much responsibility as you've had in the past for a while?
I do. And I do like it. It's not, because I still do the TV show and I do stuff like this, and I'm writing, for the paper and covering events and things like that. So I'm still doing stuff. I don't miss grinding out the paper every week. With Tuesdays and Wednesdays were long and hard, and I loved it. I've loved every minute, second that I've worked in any newspaper that I worked at. I really was lucky enough to pick an occupation that I wanted to do since I was in 8th grade. I did it. And when I say did it successfully, I'm just saying that it worked out well.
You got a paycheck doing it for a lot longer than some people do.
Yeah, so it worked out very well for me. But I like this, okay? And I think that it's not just to tell anybody listening who feels like they might struggle with it. You don't. There were, first couple of Wednesdays, I felt like I was supposed to be someplace else.
Like something was wrong.
Something was wrong. Even though I knew that I didn't have to be there, and it wasn't like I missed it. I just had this I'm supposed to be there, but I don't have to be there. So why do I feel like I'm right? But trust me, it took about a month to get over that.
Right. Because our brains are efficient, right? And our neural pathways are efficient, and our nervous systems are efficient. So there's a pattern in there that sort of says, this is the rhythm, this is what you do on Wednesdays, and it feels like something is wrong when it doesn't happen. But as you said, we also, thanks to this thing called neuroplasticity, we adjust.
Oh, yes, exactly.
And I think what you're doing is really smart, because when I'm working with clients individually, whether they're bank executives or physicians or anything else, a lot of them can't wait to not have the grind, the overwhelm. They're thinking more about what they're moving away from and not creating something to move toward. And you've really bridged in this season of life, created for yourself something that you're moving toward instead of just trying to get away from the grind of it all.
And in my mind, I think that we all do this. I said, okay, in order to be at the exact same, wage level, I would have to make up X over any given month. That's just in my head. Don't live toward it, doesn't make any really difference or anything like that.
It's just kind of the banks of the
It's
river
just
a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So like, okay, dude, so anything that you can, throw in there to help this, whatever, because you have the opportunity to do it now. And it's not like my life has changed. It's not like I'm, all of a sudden I had to well, look, you got to change the kind of work you do. Nothing like that really occurred. And that's different. I mean, there's some occupations that once you stop doing it, I guess you could be a volunteer accountant or something like that for a not-for-profit or things like that. But for the most part, you stop doing what you've been doing for a long time.
Or at least it seems like that's what it has to be. But I think you just brought up something. If we can think about creative ways to express those parts of the job that you liked in a way that allows you to bridge it with more flexibility, time to go to your place out in Washington and the things that you love doing.
Exactly.
I think you're doing it exactly right. And I will hold you up as an example when I'm talking to clients about ways to bridge to what's next. Topic of the day that garnered the most interest on the Royal Banks of Missouri text line is the fact that Schnucks is not going to be doing these.
Yeah, the coupon.
I want to read a couple more of these before we wrap up for the day today. A couple of you pointing out that Deerberg's always has the ad in the store, and somebody said they're going to have to go for their 97-year-old mother. Go to the store, pick it up, and bring it home because she's a creature of habit.
Because I do pick it up there, and you know what else they do? They have next week's available for you when you're in the store.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. And then also from the 314, they're pointing out, okay, tech advanced people, you can get the Schnucks sales flyer on the app and on the Schnucks app. Good to know. Somebody else saying they like the Schnucks ad for the Dogtown pizza sales. Who doesn't love themselves some Dogtown pizza? I sure do.
I saw that one too. I made me smile.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a very fun show. We have a great one lined up for you tomorrow. Tariq Khan he's going to be in for our Back to the Feature segment where we rewatch a classic movie going back 50 years to Taxi Driver. Did you ever see it?
Yeah.
It's a heavy one. I needed a therapy section
right.
after that one, but we're going to talk all about that tomorrow. And Sarah Fensky back in the house after her vacation as well, talking some hot topics with us. Alvin Reed, thanks so much for being with us today.
Anytime, Jill. It's always a pleasure.
It was a blast. Lots more coming up. Carney and Max holding down the fort next, and then the Heidi Show later on with Josh. Connor, are you sitting on that show today as well?
I think so.
Okay.
I think Bob is out.
Okay, sounds good. Make it a great day, everybody. You deserve it.
Mom, what do you always say?
There's nothing sadder than jewelry that sits in a drawer.
That's why we are proud to offer jewelry repair on site at Newsetter's Fine Jewelry. We know that your jewelry is important to you, and we take that part of our job very seriously. Visit us at Doherty Ferry in Big Bend or learn more at wowdiamonds.com.
Hey, Heidi Glaus here, inviting you to join me October 24th as we journey in search of Iceland's magical Northern Lights with Colette. We're going to experience the land of fire and ice with a rare opportunity to search for the Northern Lights, one of nature's most dazzling light